All right, welcome to another episode of Popcorn and Palava, the podcast where we discuss movies, culture, comics, TV, and anime. And we have a whirlwind of hot takes and hearty laughs. I'm your host, Oludemilade Raji, and joining me as always are my co-hosts, Mayawa Eshlomo and Fawaz Raji. And today we have a special guest. Fei is going to be discussing anime with us, and he's an expert. So I'll give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. Maiwa, starting with you.
Okay, so again, Maiwa, you guys should know me by now. The horror specialist, horror fantasy specialist on here. And here's my little brother. It's funny, this is going to be an interesting episode. I don't know if you guys knew, Demilade and Fawaz are brothers. And then my little brother is also joining as a guest, whatever. I don't know a ton about anime, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So Faye, please introduce yourself and tell them who you are.
So you guys don't know me. I'm Faye. I'm his little brother. If he's the horror fantasy specialist, I'm probably the anime specialist. I hope I am at least.
In our family.
In our family. Let's keep it within. Yeah. So I've watched anime for a while. I find it super entertaining. I'm a big fan, especially of sports anime. But that's just who I am, and I'm excited to be here, just to chop it up with you guys for sure.
Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Fawaz.
Hello, it's me, Fawaz, the anime elitist and all-rounder, know-it-all, and nitpicker. So happy to argue my way through any issues and hot takes.
I'm an elitist.
I'm an elitist. No, I'm an elitist. I already know, but it's okay.
It's all good. And of course, our wonderful host, Mr. Demilade. Kick it off.
I am not an an elitist or I'm an anime specialist. I am just somebody who watches anime every once in a while, gets irritated by it, and decide not to watch it for a while. But I will say that some of my favorite shows that I've watched are also anime. So I'm not going to take anything away from the medium. So, all right, cool. So we've done the intros. Let's go straight into the discussions. Before we go too far, I think one of the things that I want to discuss is to give everybody a gauge on some of at least your in-depth experiences with anime. Can you talk a little bit about, maybe give you an example of what you would consider to be very good anime, and then we can go into the main topic. So give us your favorite anime. What would you say is one of your the anime show or movie that has made the most impact on you, and then we can start going into the further into the conversation.
You want to start?
I guess I'll start. I don't watch, like I said, I don't watch a lot of anime, but I've seen some very, very good ones. Full Metal Alchemist was a very, very good show. And I think that show transcends what I would call the medium of anime. But if I want to discuss my favorite anime show or movie, I would probably say it's Ghost in the Shell. I recently rewatched Ghost in the Shell, and I want to talk about the fact that the soundtrack was amazing. The story is very, very deep, and there's some deep cuts in that movie that even transcend some of the films. Like they've tried to reproduce it in many, many films after the show came out. But I think the music is memorable. I loved the story, and it's a reflection of the world we're in right now.
Yeah. Okay, no, and thank those were good picks, by the way. Now if I'm talking about my experience with anime, man, I'm trying to think of how Netflix kind of got me. Castlevania was one of my initial forays into anime. Alucard and all the characters. I mean, it was a very compelling, very dark, which is my kind of my genre, right? It is dark, gory. So that was kind of my first entry. Moving to Chainsaw Man, that was another one that I really liked. Again, very gory. So you guys have seen a trend, obviously. And then another one that just was different for me, just taking me out of that, gore and, blood and guts type. It's funny, I didn't add this to my list, but what is the name of this anime with the main guy's name is Guts?
Berserk. That's still pretty gory.
That's pretty gory. Pretty dark too.
Yeah,
dark.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But moving away from a little bit of the gore, I really enjoyed. Death Note was one that I enjoyed as well. I started it. I didn't finish, which again, you guys will hear about my issue with anime. And then Seven Deadly Sins was kind of a removal from, what I've done in the past with regards to anime. So again, now that I think about it, I wasn't even paying attention. It's like I have all these anime shows that are super gory, and that's just kind of been my forte. Jujutsu Kaisen is also gory. Now that I think about it, is and then what's that?
House Paradise?
No, the scary one, the one with the giants moving and
Attack
on Titan was another one. So again, based on my personal genre, I think I found things that worked for me in the anime world. And it's been great. Yeah, I've enjoyed those types of shows. I'll wait to gripe about anime, and I think Demilade also chose to do the same. So we'll go to Fei now and talk about some of the shows that he likes.
So yeah, just like I have multiple again for like different sections. For me, like one of my main ones, I'm really into sports anime. Right now is Aoashi. Soccer it's super realistic, super like gritty. They're not talking about this fantastical like strikers are playing defense, midfield is like straight to the point. Attack on Titan 2 is one of my main ones. Like it might not as mainstream, but it's like the topics, the way it grasps you from like the first episode, it just keeps you. Like to me, it was done perfectly. Like I think it was 4 seasons, except when he got to the 4th season when he started dragging it out. Well, 4 seasons got too short. Characters got development. Side characters got love. I love shows that give side characters love. Hunter x Hunter again is one of my when it comes to giving side characters love. I did like shows with interesting villains. Monster. I'm still watching it. I'm not done with the year, but Monster's up there with their villain. And then Death Note. I just love like characters. You look at the villain, you're like, this is a villain that like has depth to them. Not just like I'm doing bad stuff because I want to. Like just like depth, and that's really what I'm looking for. And for nostalgia, you have to put Naruto because that was my first anime.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
I found the video game, which is crazy when he was younger, and then he kind of went crazy.
But just like an anime that I don't think I have not seen like a lot of anime that started with kids and they grew up and they continue to take you with it. I remember talking about world building. They did a good job, especially in the like Shippuden, just like starting to create and piecing together like politics and putting like, different nations into the frame, and I like that, to be honest.
So those were your.
That's awesome. Y'all have some. You also have some pretty good shows. Can't really hate. My leases didn't jump out. I will say Full Metal Alchemist. For me it's like the quintessential anime. Like if anyone ever says, "Hey, I've never seen anime, which one shall I watch?" I always say Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It is perfect in every like angle, music, story, characters. It doesn't do the weird anime shit that might turn people off. The weird like over sexualization they do sometimes. And it has a very grounded story, and I mean it's just solid. It's just a solid show, good action, good consequences, no fluff. Zero fluff. I have a few animes that are different from y'all's. I really like Mob Psycho. I think that one's very understated. I think the animation and the story is very different from what you would get in that genre of shonen. It takes like a little bit of One Punch Man where the character is like the most powerful person, but it's really about personal development is what the show is really about. The guy's the most powerful, but he despises using his powers because he wants to be better as a person and not rely on these powers that he has. So It's an understated anime. I think it's probably one of the best shonen I ever seen. Hunter x Hunter is up there for me. I wish the writer would not be so sick all the time so they can finish the story. I sort of lost faith in ever completing that, kind of like Game of Thrones. Like he's not gonna get it done. It's okay, but it to me it has one of the best singular arcs of any anime, like singular seasons with the Ant King. It's just a full story, and I'm not even gonna delve into that too much right now. Another one of my favorites is FLCL, Fully Cooley. This is like a cult show. It's only 6 episodes. It's a very zany show. It's a very weird show, but it tells a very condensed story in 6 episodes. And it took me a few watches before I actually understood what I was watching. Because the first time I watched it, I was just like, all the crazy stuff. It's like a character gets hit in the head with a guitar and like robots fall out of his head, right? That's like the surface level of the story, but it's really about like puberty and sexual manipulation, getting taken advantage of. There are like messages in there that are like mixed in with all the weird stuff going on in the show. But it's one of those shows you have to watch over and over, which I did. I had time. Jujutsu Kaisen also has become one of my favorite. The season 1 is good, but season 1 was more like a standard shonen. Season 2 is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Visually, the action, the fight sequencing, I think even I try to force Demolator to watch it. I made him stick through season 1, and after season 2, he was like, "Oh, okay, it's nice." You know, it was like, "Yeah, it was one of those. Yeah, I got him. You know." But yeah, season 2 visually, it's a visual spectacle. It's amazingly crafted. But I can go on forever. I'll just start with those. I was gonna recommend when you were saying the horror genres. I was actually gonna recommend Berserk, the Golden Circle trilogy of movies.
Yeah, I've seen all of
That
them.
one.
I've seen all of them.
After I finished that movie, man, I had to take a break. I was drained.
I've seen all of them. It was so bad. Like I started looking for even the 3D trash animated one that I like. And as much as everybody hits on that 3D, I loved it.
I hated that. I hated that.
Yeah, I loved it. I didn't care.
But the 3 movies.
Yeah.
The 3 movies, man. At the end of it, I was just like,
yeah.
It's like I don't know if you guys ever saw this show, this movie, Grave of the Fireflies, where it's just depressing. It's just a depressing story.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, you're just like drained. You're emotionally drained. It's like, damn, I just went through this, and I just even feel worse than when I started.
Yeah.
That's how Berserk felt for me at the end. I was just like,
interesting.
Well,
how do I
what's next?
Yeah. It's like, are you selling this anime now? I mean, now I feel like I shouldn't watch it at all.
No, I don't recommend. I don't recommend Berserk to anyone. If you don't want to go through some emotionals, if you're not looking for some heavy shit, it's very dark. It's very dark.
And you have to be used to it, right? Like I'm used to dark stuff. So like I loved it. I was like, if you as a show or anime can get me to feel this kind of feelings through this, nah, I'm good. This is great. Yeah. So yeah, no, those are great shows for us. Actually, really good shows.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I was doing when I was getting ready for this episode was actually going through some of the animes that existed in Crunchyroll. I just got a new PlayStation Portal, and we got a Crunchyroll coupon that allows you to watch Crunchyroll for 3 months.
Interesting.
So it's like, all right, cool. So let me check this out. And I started to go through some of the animes on there, and I saw one about a slice of life. Basically, it's just life in Japan, and it's like some kids going to school and all of that. I saw some of the soccer ones, and I was like, wow. So anime covers a whole range of topics.
It's very broad. It's very broad. You know something interesting? I rewatched King of the Hill within the last 2 years. Slice of the old Texas Hank Hill, King of the Hill. King of the Hill is a slice of life. That's what that show is. Like, if you ever want to think about what a slice of life is, it's about a family or a group of people just living in a town and figuring stuff out with their friends, or maybe there's a little bit of romance, maybe this character gets married off and stuff like that. So I was rewatching the show again. I was like, oh, this is just like an American slice of life. It's not, there's not many shows in America that kind of have that kind of vibe of you're just following these characters through their life and all the BS they have to deal with.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the characters that have been the most interesting to you. Who would you say has been your most interesting characters that you've come across in anime? And then we can then talk about which worlds in anime has been the most interesting to you. So let's start with the characters. For me, my favorite character that I would have to go with is Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop is one of the most I'm a big fan of noir, and it's detective noir, and Cowboy Bebop has a significant noir, detective noir scene storyline, and it also has an underlying storyline that goes across that is a little bit darker than what you see in the first few episodes. And one of the things that I've always loved about Spike is, his sarcastic nature. He seems seemingly is carefree, and he has this nonchalant expressionism, but deep down he's just a person who is traumatized, and he's trying to deal with the world that way. And what do you call it? Cowboy Bebop is probably one of my favorite anime to watch repeatedly. Um, this is why Samurai Champloo was a little bit of a interesting for me, because I did not like it significantly as much as I liked Cowboy Bebop. So, Cowboy Bebop is probably one of my strongest. Spike Spiegel is probably one of my strongest characters in anime.
Okay, that's a good guess. That's
a really good one. Yeah, no, that's a good one. So mine is going to be very. I was going to go with Guts, right? Which Berserk, like I don't know that I've seen anyone. I mean, it goes with his name, yeah, or the name of the actual show. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anyone in anime like get as angry as this guy does, man. Like he's almost devastatingly just it becomes like a totally different person. Yeah. But I didn't want to go with my regular whatever. For me, it would have been One Punch Man. Is one that I just find curious, right? This bold, small, tiny looking human being, and I mean, and so for me, there was always the question of how far can they go with this? Like, well, how are we going to sell this for more than one episode? And somehow they just keep coming up with this, I mean, he's so calm. He's almost an idiot. And this guy has so much power. And I don't know if you can draw similarities for us with, I haven't seen Mob Psycho, but I'm sure you've seen, One Punch Man. I don't know if there's similarities between them.
it's the same creator.
He's the same creator. Comes off to me as an idiot. He comes off to me as an idiot. Meanwhile, this guy is like all powerful, one punch. I don't care who you are. I don't care how big you are. I don't care what kind of monster you are. You can't be Godzilla. This guy, his one punch is a wrap. You know what I mean?
It's really about it.
I thought about there's also the guy from Attack on Titan. That guy just shouts too much, man. I mean, as a character, I don't pick him. He's just always super emotional. What's the guy's name?
Is it Aaron?
The nigga, yeah.
Aaron Yeager.
So emotional, man. Like, dude, calm down. It's not that serious. Just calm down. You're always shouting. So no, I went with One Punch Man because, like, to me, he's like almost an anomaly and like a contradiction. Like how you're watching this man, how is he the most powerful person on this? Maybe in anime ever. Like I can't think of anybody else, that can take you with one punch. But yeah, no, that would be my choice. Okay.
For me, like I have two characters, but for like two different reasons. The first one is Gojo. So for me, Gojo is like, but the thing for that, like
For those that don't know, please, who is Gojo?
Gojo is in Jujutsu Kaisen, white hair, blind.
Oh, the blindfold guy.
I like overpowered. I have a thing for overpowered characters, but him is so different in the sense that, like you said, when he's not fighting, he acts like this idiot, like playful, always, but like he has so much power within that verse.
Yeah.
But he's so benevolent. But at the same time, like, I don't like benevolence like the Superman way where you're a Boy Scout, you always do the right thing.
Yeah.
When this guy gets in the zone, he looks almost crazy. Right? But crazy, like crazy on the good side. And to me, I haven't really seen a lot on the anime. If they're on the good side, they're almost naive, not be like they don't have that. They're not ruthless. And I like seeing characters that are overpowered. They're good. They're benevolent, but ruthless. Like when he was in the. I don't want to spoil. I think you guys have seen season 2. When he was in the subway, and he slowed the time down. It was just taking off.
I haven't seen that part.
I haven't seen. Oh, I thought you see.
No.
I haven't seen a character like that, or a character presented like that in anime. I've forgotten. My thing is the way Gon was written. Like when I saw Gon, it's just this innocent, boy. But then, like as you go, especially in the ant scene, we see this kind of like dichotomy between him and the Ant King, where is this like innocent and is actually pretty messed up inside.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we see someone who's messed up externally, but then at the end transitions into a type of good person. It's almost like they switch. And I'm looking at Gon, and I'm looking at this innocent kid that like has no problem like seeing people to like seeing their lives ended. And then to add to this, that someone pointed out, like in like the first exam scene when Killua took out that dude's heart, they were like, Gon was not phased. Like everyone else was looking at him kind of weird. Gon gave him a high five, hey, good job. And look at it, this is the kid that's like fishing and looking like a Boy Scout. He just saw someone's heart get pulled out, and he's like, yeah, good job, man. He's actually psychotic, and you don't even know this until you get later on, or until you're almost done with the show. And that's just a masterful presentation of a character to me.
So those are your two cycles.
Great. Essentially,
2 cycles. I'll be honest. Originally, I'd chosen Spike Spiegel, but then I already spoke about Spike Spiegel. So I'm going to switch my answer. The Gon thing was very interesting because Gon was like my second choice. And you're right. I think rewatching the show, I saw the character is something like he presents as innocent. But if you rewatch the show again, you see, yeah, this kid is actually... He has a problem. There's something in there that's not... And it only comes out in that one Ant King arc. No spoilers, but someone close gets capped, he gets pissed, and it starts coming out. But yeah, that kid had problems, probably some trauma from his deadbeat dad. But I will actually pick One Punch Man is a good pick as well. I am gonna go Mob for Mob Psycho for the same reason, or some of the similar reasons that you guys have. He's kind of like One Punch, where he's all powerful. It's made by the same creator, so he has this kind of theme that he uses on the shows. He's all powerful. But unlike the One Punch guy, where he is kind of like an idiot, but he can defeat anything in the show, Mob is essentially trying not to use his powers. So throughout the whole show, I think it's one of the few shows where you actually see a character develop. He's very shy. He's very reclusive. He doesn't know how to talk to people, but he has this like all powerful, right? And at one point, he actually thought he was the only psychic in the world, but then he starts meeting other psychics. But he joins the fitness club because he wants to, be more confident. And he sucks. He can't run. He can't do anything. And literally, he could just he can't run. He's like struggling half a mile. He's already dead. He can't lift 10 pounds. But he's someone who can just like wipe out the whole city with a thought.
With a thought.
And yeah, he's that powerful. But he's like, he sees other psychics. And sort of the premise that runs through the show is other psychics come up and they start abusing their powers, essentially, taking advantage of people. And he goes, oh, you think you're special? You don't know there's people more special than you out here. Then he just wipes them out, he beats them up. And they're like, oh, wow. There's really levels to this. And they essentially stop what they're doing. They're like, yeah, we don't want no smoke. I like the character because he constantly is challenging himself. And it's one of the few characters where you see in anime, a lot of it is based around rage and anger, like a la Dragon Ball Z. you hit a breaking point and you're so angry that you just hit the next level, you do your breakthroughs and you get more powerful. A lot of it is based on that. But his powers are based on essentially how he feels in the moment.
Percent.
The percent thing. Like as he gets angrier, his power level raises. As he gets sadder, his power level raises. So as he gets more emotional, his powers sort of change. And it's about like essentially channeling positivity and being better. But he's not like a wimp throughout the show. In the first season, is kind of wimpy, but in the second season, he becomes confident. He becomes like he has a fake teacher who's like a pretend psychic, but the dude's just a scammer, and he's using the kid to run scams. And in the first season, he's completely relying on the teacher, but in the second season, he calls him out. He's like, "Yeah, I know you've been doing this. You have a problem." Like he straight up calls him out, and it's one of the few shows where you see that sort of change in the character from season to season. It only has 2 seasons. Yeah, so he has a definite character development arc. I think it's a good message of like, yeah, you can be in a bad place and you can still make changes. You can still push yourself to be better, even if you have the utmost power. You can still treat people respectfully. You can still be nice. It's a different message from what I see from other shows. That's why I pick him. But everyone had great shows. Also, that show has some of the best action scenes of all time. Choreography. I just want to say, but
I mean, I have to go check out this Mob Psycho. And you're giving, it almost sounds like Superman. Thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, he is in a sense.
In a weird kind of way, yeah, because like that's the whole Clark Kent arc. Is, I have all this power, I can use it, but like I choose not to, right?
Yeah.
Okay, done.
The quick interesting question that I want to ask. So Studio Ghibli makes anime and it's made in Japan. Would you guys consider that to be anime in the sense of the conversation we're having? I think it does count as anime, right? Studio Ghibli.
It should. I haven't seen one that I liked.
Interesting.
I've watched a couple. I know it's insane. I've got into some of these shows really wanting to love them because I've heard all this stuff about Ghibli or whatever. I can't. I've watched the child on the train. I've seen. I can't do it. I just gave up. Right? Maybe it's just not my genre.
Yeah, Spirited Away. I think it's because it's not dark enough. Most of the Studio Ghibli movies are not very dark. They have this like whimsical fantasy vibe to them. It's not going to hit that spot for you because you like horror,
right? Because they're like movies. A lot of them are like really like almost a 2-hour long. By like halfway through, I'm just like, oh, yeah, I'm out.
Have you seen Princess Mononoke?
I mean, I tried. I promise you, I've tried like the first like 30 minutes of a lot of those anime movies. I just can't do it.
I think Princess Mononoke is probably going to be the closest thing that you will have because it does have elements of horror. It does have elements of it's very action oriented. In fact, from the very first beginning, from the beginning of the movie, it starts with him trying to kill a spirit pig that had gone berserk, and then he gets the disease. But when we talked a little bit about some of the themes of anime, and I wanted to point out that all the Studio Ghibli films, a lot of them do not have any sexualization of the characters.
Yeah.
All of them have worlds that talk about themes. The way they handle conversations about death is different from what we have over here, and a lot of them have female characters as the main character in them.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point out that even in the world of anime, there's still some studios that just focus on specific styles of anime.
Yeah.
All right,
I also want to, before you go on, I also want to point out Mononoke is probably the darkest Ghibli film, and I think Nausicaa, sorry, of the Wind Valley is also pretty dark. It's more like a fantasy style, but it's not as dark as Mononoke, but it has some darker elements within the story.
I couldn't get into it. And which again, I want us to address before we jump into some. My biggest gripe with anime shows, and and this isn't for all of them, it's like they get so long. Attack on Titan, One Piece. Like, I really wanted to get into One Piece, but I'm like, how many seasons of this show am I going to watch to get to the end? You know what I mean?
Still not done.
And they're still not done, right? And every so often, even with Attack on Titan, I like take breaks. I haven't finished the entire thing. I'm somewhere. I got lost in one spin-off that they did with one of the captains, showing how he came up in the ranks, and I got drawn into that. I never went back. Right now, I know I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna finish. I've watched like 2 seasons or 3 seasons already. I want to see what the story is. Like, how did we get here? But like, it's so many of them, and that's my biggest gripe. I don't know what you guys, some of you might like this, some of you might be okay with it. I've seen anime, a lot of the animes I gravitate towards are anime that 2-3 seasons done, right? Or 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I can't. Oh man, like One Piece. Even how many seasons does your favorite show, the Spike guy? It's like
One season, single season.
Yeah. I tried to watch the live action. The reviews for that.
Wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, so like
Not
that
to
kind of
start.
yeah. But no, I don't know what you guys think. What your thoughts on that? Like,
Yeah.
why do they have to? A lot of them. Why do they have to be and keep
Before
coming
you answer
back?
that question, I want to say also that I'll probably just put my question on this list, and I think it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to hear Faye and Fawaz's perspective on this.
Mm.
My problem with anime, and I think one of the things that always turns me off from anime, and I don't think it's all anime because, like we've discussed, anime just means animation from
Different.
Japan. So
Mhm.
all the different studios have different ways of telling stories, but some of the popular ones today have this mechanic. Like this is very prevalent in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's very prevalent in Dandadan. It's very prevalent in a lot of the new ones where they're telling a story, and because they want to start fast, they don't give you background, right? And then when the story starts, every single time something new comes up, it's a period of exposition. And in those periods of exposition, they tell you something new about the character that you didn't know. So you're in season 2, and they're introducing new abilities to a character that they could have told you about in season 1. And then all of a sudden, it's like right at the point where he's about to get his ass whooped, you just say, and did we tell you that 2 years ago he was training with his master and he got the ability to swam water away? And then it's like, all right, well, I'm bringing up that method and I'm going to swam the water away. And I think that's the thing that I always like gets me. And I think that was one of the reasons why Jujutsu Kaisen season 1 was not really strong for me. And I think season 2 got it remedied a little bit better because it's more about what was going on at the incident in Tokyo. But yeah, I am curious to know what your
What do you guys
perspectives
think
are,
about
Faye and
Yeah,
Fawaz.
let me jump in here real quick. I think the problem that he's talking about, I call it the Power Ranger problem. I think we talked about this a little bit too. Is like, I don't know if anyone's watched Power Rangers back in the day, when the Red Ranger gets a new special, he just knows exactly what to do with the new powers he just got, and he pulls out the new stuff, right? And there's no like preamble, there's no training, there's no like, he's like, oh, I'm fighting the toughest bad guy, I just got this new power, let me use this new power, I know all the skills how to do it. It's not great. It's not great. And I think not every anime does that, and some do it better than others. In Jujutsu Kaisen, they did have a little bit of foreshadowing, but it's not in a way that is very. You can only know it going backwards. Like you can only notice it if you watch it again. You're like, oh, okay, they foreshadowed some things. But he is right where they do these things where all of a sudden someone is, oh, I have all this new technique you didn't know about. I've been keeping it in the pocket until it was like the dire moment.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that, to be honest. That's just like almost like a feature of certain styles, certain anime. It's kind of baked in to some extents. Stuff like Full Metal, I don't think they ever had a point where they were just like, oh, I'm gonna pull out this new technique you've never seen before. There's some anime that I like the way they use their powers. Like Hunter x Hunter is one that does extremely well with the powers. They I mean, they explain how all the powers work, and they explain like when the characters are getting some new powers, they explain this is what's happening to the character to get these new powers. There's only a few times where they do the Dragon Ball Z, oh, I'm so angry, I just level up thing. That is very few and far between. But before you see any of the powers in the show, I mean, you might see a few, but they go into explaining the whole system of what's going on. Jujutsu Kaisen didn't do the best job of it in season 1, but they kind of showed it through the episodes. That's an understandable gripe, especially for someone like Demade. I think Demade likes the breadcrumbs. He likes the breadcrumbs. So when something crazy happens, he's not like left bewildered or like, how did this happen? You know? And it's kind of sometimes it can be kind of a cop out when you're watching the show, where it's like, oh, this dude is on his last legs. What's gonna happen? Yeah, it can be kind of lazy to, you know. Something like One Punch Man, right? Like you already know he's gonna kill it in one punch if he wants to. So it's like no matter what happens, you know, like he can take it out in one punch. Right. Yeah. So they've already set that expectations. And in the show, yeah, sometimes that's kind of egregious. Yeah, you just gotta pick and choose, man. You gotta pick and choose the right shows. If that's really what bothers you, to be honest. On your point with the episode lengths, I am more of a fan of the single season shows. I enjoy the 26 episoders, the 24 episoders, like Champlu, like Cowboy Bebop, like Steins Gate, Darker Than Black, one and done, 2 seasons maybe and done. Mob Psycho is the same way. Full stories, they're just a very condensed story. This is what the story is. We're talking about this. Yep. Shows like One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, yeah, they can go on for. I mean, One Piece has been running for almost 30 years now, and just like it's like we're just getting to the end, but it's not really the end. So it's probably still has like another 5 to 10 years before it finishes. Yeah, so something like that, I would never recommend someone to start now, because when I watched it was in 10th grade, and I think they're just cresting about 1,000 episodes around that time. Wow. And I spent the whole spring break. It was a spring break. I did nothing but One Piece the whole time, morning to night. One Piece. That's how I caught up on the show. So I would recommend it now, 10 years after that, to start watching and reading One Piece. Just watch the Netflix live. Netflix. Yeah, just watch that and just follow that. I'm sure they'll condense it too, because it has a lot of fluff.
I have friends that used to watch Inuyasha like every night. You know what I mean? Like that. I mean, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like they would go and they would go get torrents and they would watch and they would watch, and they used to bring it up every night on Adult Swim, and I'm just like, nah, man, I'm good. I'll watch something else. Faye, you were gonna say something.
I was gonna say to the first question about the gripe with the power systems. Like you guys said, I feel like it's an example of just like bad writing in general. For a lot of writers write themselves into a corner, and they have to pull that out. But again, I want to think of it. I like to think of it sometimes as a trope. Just like again with the comics, we have Batman and his Batarang, or what is this thing he does? Prep time. Oh, he gave him $1,000 of prep time, and it's annoying, but then you get to a point like, okay, I'm kind of expecting this. So when an anime doesn't do that, it subverts your expectations. Sometimes it elevates it, right? Like with JJK did it. I don't think there's any moment in JJK where there was something this dude pulled out that they didn't talk about in the past. I'm thinking maybe Black Flash. Maybe Black Flash was kind of explained when it was done. Like, this is not how it's supposed to go. This dude is just blessed. That's essentially what they said. But again, when I'm thinking about themselves in the corner, I'm thinking, especially with Naruto towards the end, with all this like planetary came out of nowhere, right? Again, it's part of just bad writing, and then a part of it is just like tropes. Again, with Power Rangers, when at the end they're always going to this big giant robot. That's a trope. Batman prep time trope. And then to the other question, when it comes to like it's just like finding the ones that are just short and sweet for you. I think now again we're transitioning, because I don't know if there's an influence from Western media on this, but there has been, from what I've seen, a shorter. Like, I'm not seeing longer running like mangas like Dragon Ball Z, Monster. Monster is 70-something episodes. I mean, that's a lot. But you want to compare that to 200, 300? I guess. Like, I'm thinking of, like, I'm not really seeing all of animes that are hitting Naruto times, One Piece times, Bleach. Bleach is still going on. Demon Slayer is done. JJK is done. Chainsaw Man, a part of it finished, they started a new part. Like, a lot of them are ending, like, way quicker than they used to. And I think it's gonna, like, transition to the anime. One thing I would suggest, that probably not for you, but probably for people like me, is like, if I don't like the way an anime is paced, I read the manga. Because I'm a fast reader. I can read faster than a lot of these people can, like, animate. So, downside is you miss out on some of the fight scenes. Plus side is like you're able to go through these longer animes much more faster.
It's not that serious.
Than just that to me, it's enjoyable. I read the manga. I read the manga. I'm not trying to watch all this. That's what
I ain't doing all that.
Let me jump in here real quick. I agree with Faye here. It's really just about honestly picking and choosing. But you brought up something that I remembered something I was going to say earlier in the previous topic about favorite characters. Toji from Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. That's my dog. That's my guy.
Yeah, he's a dog.
Black Air Force energy, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Wait, Toji. Sorry, which one's Toji?
Oh.
I haven't met yet. Okay.
Okay.
I can't say. When you see it, you understand. You understand. I just want to say.
Yeah, that's
Black
fine.
Air Force energy.
He watched the first part, the hidden inventory. He watched that, so he should know who Toji is.
Is it the Zero?
Yes, he watched Zero, so you should know who Toji is. He watched
The one with the girlfriend. The one where Gojo was young. Yeah, with the girlfriend.
Yeah, the dude who
crazy
off Gojo.
Oh.
The guy that killed Go with that carries the thing on the shoulder.
Oh.
Has a little worm on the shoulder. Yeah, that's my favorite character.
Dad Navi.
Yeah. Megumi's dad.
Interesting.
That
We're losing Demilade here.
I know. Well, I just want to let this be known real quick. That one scene, since you've seen it anyways, when they finish their mission, and this man pulls out the gat, and he just no spoilers, bro. I watched that. I was just like,
yeah,
bro.
Bro.
No one ever thought of this, but it was so unexpected. I was just like, oh wow, okay, someone finally used their brain and just that easy. But yeah, I just want to say that, and I agree with Faye's point. It's a bit of a trope. Some shows do it better than others. I think if you're watching the action shows, you have to pick and choose the right ones. The ones that are like sort of targeted towards teenagers tend to have that more than the adult ones. So if you watch something like Darker Than Black, which is another insane show, it doesn't have all this tropes. It doesn't have those tropes. That's another one I would actually recommend. I've only seen season 1. I heard season 2 wasn't that good. But season 1, Darker Than Black recommendations about a dude. In the world of Japan, people have powers. They make contracts with stars to get powers. But every power has a punishment. Every power has a payment. So, for example, someone uses their powers, they can phase through walls. But every time they phase through a wall, they have to break their fingers. And if they don't do it, the punishment is harder. So instead of not using their fingers, if they don't break their fingers, their whole body gets disintegrated or something. Like it's random for each person. Yeah, that's
how my kid.
You might enjoy it, and it's not even. That's not even what the story is about. It's just a portion of what the story is. So it's a crazy show. I would recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, we've already gone.
I mean, generally speaking, this is going to be a quick round.
Okay.
Before I just finalize that, I'm going to say, shout out to Kento from Jujutsu Kaisen. I call him Mr. Mathematics, and I always appreciated his fighting style, because every single time it seemed like he was going to lose, he just did some math really quick.
He did the one with the glasses.
Yeah, the guy with the glasses.
Yeah.
Mr. Financial And I will say this also to kind of buttress Faye's point. There's one thing that happened in Jujutsu Kaisen that I didn't realize. You talked about the fact that they kind of highlight something. The last monster that Megumi Fushiguro brought out, and Fawaz showed me a video where they showed him trying to bring it out since season 1. But every single time they tried to do it, somebody would stop him from doing it. And then I was like, I didn't realize that they were foreshadowing.
So they were setting you up.
Yeah. So I'll give it that. And the final topic, of course. And this one is going to be a quick fire round. Of the anime worlds that you've watched, which one would you consider to be the best built one? Should I say is the most realized anime world you've seen so far?
So I'm gonna go with Full Metal Miss but not Brotherhood, the OG. I feel like the OG, for me, the OG did a perfect, especially when it came to. I saw something that reminded me of race relations, especially when it came to this dude. I can't remember this dude now. The dude that had the scar that at first was a bad guy. I can't remember his name. His people and the subjugation of his people. I could even before I was here in the U.S. I could already start to see like the makings of like race relations, right? And the oppression. We're talking oppression. We're talking about like victims of war. We're talking about things like that. And seeing that in Fullmetal Alchemist, I feel like that was in the OG because probably because I both finished the Brotherhood, so maybe that's why I think the OG did a better job of that. But when it came to building the world and just like showing you like how dark and gritty war is, and especially what it does to the people, I think to me that was like an aspect of world building the anime usually neglects because it's like too dark. But they did it pretty good for me.
Maiwa.
You want me to go next? Mine is a little interesting. So, of all the shows, it's funny. I've been seeing all these things, right? Like dark, gory, whatever. Delicious in Dungeon. I was shocked by how good I love that show. I was, and you know what Netflix did? It's almost like they sensed it. They were releasing it every week. And every week I was tuning in like, yes, it was a dungeon, it was levels, it was things that could kill you that you ended up eating. And the way they were cooking this food, bruh. I think for like a whole week I was eating ramen. Like I don't know what it was. I would watch that show and I'm go buy four. I watch that show, go buy ramen. It was crazy. You could see, you could see the culture and how they were making the food, how they were preparing the food. They were eating monsters, bro. There's always the one person who's grossed out by it. There's the one person who's like, yes, give me this stuff. I want to eat it. And they were cooking fish monsters. They were cooking mushrooms. They were cooking, and at the end, they were cooking like sea monsters, giant crabs that could kill you. Dragon, they put it inside, they skewered it. By the time they were done, bruv, I'm like, give me, I want to eat. That was then. Maybe it's also gory in its own way. Yeah, you know what I mean? There was this one, I thought they were going to cross the line for us. There was one episode of these things that kind of looked like human. I'm like, nah, these guys are not going to, no. No, but by the time they finish cooking it, bro. Finish cooking. There's the one dwarf guy, I don't want to spoil it. The one dwarf guy who is like Chef Boyardee. There's nothing. The moment that guy, it doesn't matter what animal it is. It doesn't matter. Once the guy cuts it into, does his little sprinkle. It's a wrap. I'm done. That world for me, like for you to be able to bring out the fat boy in me, no.
There's an anime I have that's like that.
Give me another one. I want to watch it. I want to watch that show because I had to give it up to Delicious in Dungeon. The way they built that world, the way they built the food, the way they prepared the food. No, right. I was when it finished. I was sad. I was very sad. I waited for the next week. I was like, where is it? It's gone. That's a good show. I don't know if any of you guys have to watch it. Demolade, you love that. I promise. You go love it.
I'll go next and we'll end on Fawaz. I would say that the world I would like to live in is, or should I say, the world that I feel is the most created was the Cowboy Bebop world. And the reason why is because you went to different planets and every single planet feels like it had its own unique style, it had its own unique themes, and it felt like it made sense within that world. I've also been a big fan of space travel. So I've always like appreciated the idea that you could just go from one planet to the other. And this, of course, leads to the fact that the new Naughty Dog game, Intergalactic Heretic Prophet, was based on Cowboy Bebop. Even the jacket she wore in the trailer was based on Cowboy Bebop. And I'm looking forward to that game. All right, so for us.
Guys, take us
Thank
home.
you. Yes. First of all, I want to shout out Delicious in Dungeon. Delicious in Dungeon. It's one of the best, one of the favorite animes I saw last year. I was very, very surprised at how much I enjoyed it too. Like as the show went on, it got more and more interesting, and it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey. That's all I'll say. It's a journey. They do cook monsters, but the story is fantastic. Um, of course, I couldn't just settle with one.
Question.
So I had the top three, one of which will be Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
Much like Demlady said, it's fully realized world. Everything feels real and feels like if this was where humans were in that time, this is how it would be. Essentially, like this is how spacefaring, planet hopping humans will probably function. Second would be Full Metal Alchemist, but Brotherhood. You should finish it. Yeah, it's no fluff. I mean, obviously it talks about so many deep topics, like you said, subjugation, genocide, the effects of war, very, very real stuff. And it feels grounded. And the system of whatever magic or alchemy that they use feels well explained and well put together. And the third I picked, and for some reason I'm drawing a blank right now. Let's just go with those two. Full Metal, Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, I mean y'all stole all the good answers anyway. So
Went last.
and I went last. But yeah,
So good. This is fun though. This is
Yeah.
actually
It was. I will say that thank you, Faye, for jumping in on the episode. We always appreciate people who are experts. And if you feel like you want to jump in at the episode at any other point, you can always jump in at any time.